Hi everyone, this is Ashley with CT Arena Digitals. I have to apologize. I have a sinus infection, so I probably sound pretty congested right now. I'm going to show how to use the Magic Castle backdrops in Photoshop. I have a couple of them in square orientation. I have some in vertical and I have some in horizontal. I'm going to show how to edit those using the Flood plugin. This picture or this photo of my daughter was initially, the dress was really short. I just want, if you want to give like more of a full princess gown effect to your images, I literally just went up to filter and liquify. Oops. Not vanishing point. Liquify, and I just made the dress poofy, not poopy, and kept playing with it until I liked how it looked. And then I used my quick selection tool and to select subject and select her to put her into my first image. The horizontal ones, you can use the Flood plugin on these ones too. You're just not going to have much water depending on where they're placed on the backdrop. And I added my shadows in below her dress. As you can see, she looks like she's floating a little bit, so you want to make sure that you add those shadows in underneath your subject all the time. I did not shoot for this backdrop, so it would be better if the light was falling onto her from above for this image specifically. I did edit it to look like make the light look a little bit better, but I would not use this backdrop for this image typically. If I take her and the shadows, I would make her a little bit bigger here too, since she's closer to the front. But so I want to show you how to, this is obviously one of the horizontal ones. I edited the backdrop a little bit too to match. So I'm just going to use her from this image for the other ones to show you how to do that. So I'm just going to select all of the layers on her, including my shadow, because I'm going to want shadow in the other images without having to redo it. So I'm going to select all of those and copy. And then I will do this one first. Paste. Resize. I'm going to make sure this is checked up here to keep proportions. I'm going to bring her down to about here. And then you would have to edit, obviously, for lighting. I'm just going to bring up make her a little bit brighter here. You could, after editing, you could leave it like this, or you could use the Flood plugin. I'm specifically going to show you how to use the Flood plugin. With these kind of backdrops, she's obviously really far away from the castle. Leaving it as is without adding blur, it's not going to look realistic. So I'm going to duplicate the backdrop. I'm going to go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to add some blur. Whoops, not 80, 8. Press OK. I'm going to create a layer mask. Use a black brush at 100% opacity, and I'm going to brush off, black brush, not white. And I'm going to brush off right here. There was also florals up here that I wanted to be in focus, so I'm going to take it off of those as well. Okay, and then as I said before, you could just leave it like this if you wanted to, but I want to use the Flood plugin. So I am going to go ahead and flatten my image. And now the Flood plugin is from Flaming Pear. They have instructions. If you just Google Flaming Pear Flood, oh my gosh, Flood plugin. It's free. The original one is free, and then they have like Flood 2. I just use the original one. They give you instructions on how to install it into Photoshop. So I'm going to go up to my filter and Flaming Pear Flood, and you can mess around with all the settings, but these are typically what I like to use for my settings. Sometimes I add a little bit more blur, depending on the image. Like for this one, I don't want this to be black. I want it to be like a darker shade of green. And then I'm going to adjust it to where it is just touching the bottom of her dress, or you could make it so it's in front of her more. There's a bunch of different ways that you can play with it. Press OK. And that's a totally different image now. So you can use it that way for the vertical photos, or you can leave as is. So I did this mostly for the square ones. These are my favorite. It makes it easier to add more water into your image. Like for this one, it's obviously just here. You could do it on like if I flatten this and go to flood plugin, I could add just a little bit of water. Or I can make it look like she's standing more in the water, but I don't prefer it when I just don't prefer it when there's not much water showing. There's no point, in my opinion. Okay, so how do you do the square one? So I'm gonna paste her into this image, and I'm going to resize, bring her about right here. Okay, and adjust any lighting that you need to. I'm not going to be showing that in this tutorial. And then go ahead and duplicate the background layer, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I change it up how much blur I add. I love the dreamy look, so I like to add more. And then create your layer mask. Black brush at 100% opacity. I'm going to brush it off right at where she's standing to add that depth. And then I'm going to flatten. I'm going to go up to my crop tool, and I'm going to drag down. Make sure, it doesn't really matter, but this content aware up here, I don't crop it. It probably doesn't matter, but I don't want it to mess with my image anymore, so I make sure it's unchecked. However big you want your image to be, I'm going to drag it to about like right here, so it's maybe like an 8 by 10. Press OK, and then go up to your filter and your flood plugin. Mess around with your, and if you're not liking where it lands, sometimes I'll go back and I'll recrop. It just depends. I play with it a lot. Press OK. And now instead of a square image, you'll have a complete image that you can post. You can make her, I could have made her maybe a little bit bigger, but that's very pretty. I would be very happy with printing this and hanging it in her room or posting it on social media. That's it. If you need more specific tutorials on how to edit, I have some in the Etsy shop. If you have any questions, you can message me on Etsy. I do have a studio maternity photography group that we go over some stuff for editing and freebies and stuff like that. If you want to join, the link is also in the description.